Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming this afternoon. My name is Ariane Erickson, and I'm the Carl Knapp GoEV Manager. And I am joined today by Linda Hutchins-Knowles, the Carl Knapp GoEV Senior Manager. And I will be giving the presentation today, and Linda will be supporting us in the background. And so let's get started. And we'll just introduce Acterra. Actera is an environmental nonprofit that is based in Palo Alto. Our mission is to bring people together to create local solutions for a healthy planet. And our focus of late has been on addressing climate change with a priority on equity. As I mentioned, we are based in the San Francisco Bay Area. We have a long history. We've been around since 1970. And our current staff, our current wonderful, fun staff is pictured below. I also want to introduce another person who is very dear to us. His name is Carl Knapp. And Carl was a beloved Stanford professor, renewable energy expert, an EV advocate, and an all-around Earth champion. And he passed away in 2019. But his vision for a clean energy future lives on through the Carl Knapp GoEV program. So the Carl Knapp GoEV program, what do we do? Well, we take pride in having a very large group of EV ambassador volunteers that are EV owners that have great expertise and that are willing to share their knowledge and their insights with others. We also do EV consultations. We provide a lot of information about financial incentives, including grants that are available to income qualifying residents. And we conduct events throughout the year, including the one that we are conducting this afternoon. So before we begin the presentation, I would like to thank our partners, including our presenting sponsor, Peninsula Clean Energy, our event partner, Citizens Environmental Council, and our outreach partners, National Drive Electric Week and Greentown Los Altos. All right, so let's begin with the agenda for this afternoon. We are going to start with a presentation on the benefits of EVs. And while we are going through the presentation, we welcome you to put questions into the chat box. And at the end of the presentation, I will try to answer as many of these questions as possible. So the first thing that we want to cover is what exactly is an electric vehicle? Well, the illustration that you see on my screen right now is not an electric vehicle. It is a gas-powered car, and it should be pretty recognizable because it has a combustion engine, it has a fuel tank, it has a tailpipe, and there's pollution coming out of the tailpipe. But now the next image, we're going to add some green parts to it. This is an image of a conventional hybrid, and you can think of a Toyota Prius. There's also many other conventional hybrids that are out on the road these days. Some of you probably own conventional hybrids. They actually have a small rechargeable battery and an electric motor that helps propel the car. And it's the car itself that does choose when it is using the electric motor versus when it's using the combustion engine to propel itself. And so the driver doesn't actually have a choice. So if you're driving in your hybrid, sometimes you'll notice if you're accelerating really quickly, the gas engine kicks in. If you're driving at slower speeds, you'll notice that it's very quiet, and that's because the electric motor is propelling the vehicle. Now, recently, there has been a new type of hybrid vehicle that has come onto the market, and they're called plug-in hybrids. You'll see that in this image, the rechargeable battery is a little bit bigger. In fact, it's so big that it can no longer become recharged through the combustion engine. It now needs an outside source of electricity in order to charge. And so it's called a plug-in hybrid because you do have to plug it into a charging station or into an outlet in order to recharge the battery component. But the brilliant part of a plug-in hybrid is that you now, as the driver, have control over when that car uses electricity versus when it uses gas. So a lot of people who drive plug-in hybrids elect to drive on electricity 99% of the time, because they have control over that. And they only switch over to using the combustion engine when they have run out of range, when they go on a long road trip and want the convenience of having a gas station. So that's plug-in hybrid. And then finally, last but not least, save the last for best. Once you've removed all the red pieces, and the vehicle no longer has a combustion engine, it no longer has a fuel tank, it no longer has a tailpipe, and it no longer emits pollution. You have the rechargeable battery that's left, and it's now very large, and that is a 100% electric vehicle. Okay, so let's talk about the many reasons for going EV. First of all, we all know that gas-powered cars emit pollution out of their tailpipe. This pollution is very harmful to both humans and the environment. Obviously, it causes smog. This is a photograph of the Bay Area on a smoggy day. And when you have smog, it does lead to all sorts of health problems, including asthma, lung disease, heart disease, eye irritation, and young children and the elderly are particularly susceptible to these ill effects of air pollution. And it's all around an undesirable to have in your air. As a matter of fact, just today, the Bay Area Air Quality Management District has issued an increasingly common spare the air alert. And I like the way they have an icon of a vehicle with a line through it saying, on spare the air days, please don't drive your vehicles because they contribute the most to the air pollution. Guys, so just think, if we all converted to electric vehicles, we could have clean air and blue skies on a daily basis. And that would be a wonderful world indeed. Okay, so Actera, we did talk about how we're really laser focused on mitigating the most harmful effects of climate change. And that's another reason that we are advocating for the transition to clean transportation. This is a pie chart of California's carbon dioxide emissions, carbon dioxide being a greenhouse gas, which is contributing to global warming. You'll see that the biggest slice of the carbon pie is due to transportation and passenger vehicles in particular. And this is just California. Locally in the Bay Area, more than 60% of our carbon emissions is due to transportation. And that is because of, largely because we now have a lot of community choice energy providers, such as Peninsula Clean Energy, that really sources all of their energy from renewable and carbon-free sources. And so here in the Bay Area, this electricity slice of the carbon pie is even lower. And that means that the transportation slice of the carbon pie is even greater. All the more reason to switch from gas-powered cars to electric. All right, there's also financial benefits for the individual consumer. Electricity costs less than gas, and so it costs less to fuel your electric vehicle than it does to fuel your gas-powered car. This is a study out of the University of Michigan that concluded that on average, an EV owner saves approximately $830 a year on fueling their car, and that can really add up over the lifetime of your vehicle. Consumer Reports recently announced it's official, EV owners spend half as much on maintenance. If you want a gas-powered car, they concluded that over the lifetime of your car, you will probably spend approximately $9,200, versus if you're an EV owner, you would spend almost half that, $4,600 on maintenance. And that is because electric vehicles contain 10 times fewer moving parts than a gas-powered car. They're very, very simple underneath the hood. And so there's so many fewer pieces that need to be maintained and so many fewer pieces that could break down. So electric vehicles don't have a need for a smog check. You don't have to get an oil change for electric vehicles. There's no spark plugs, so you don't have to have tune-ups. There's no timing belts. There's just simply so many fewer moving parts that you spend a lot less time at your mechanics, and you end up saving a lot of money and a lot of time maintaining your EV. This is one of my favorite slides, and it's a reason that some people go EV. Sometimes this is the only reason that people will go EV, and that is this, in order to get this Access OK Clean Air Vehicle sticker. If you own an electric vehicle, you can apply for one of these decals. You put it on your car, and you get to drive in the carpool lane as a single occupant. Now, because of the pandemic, we had a reprieve from Bay Area traffic, but it is coming back. And so I believe that this decal, once again, is going to be one of the most popular reasons that people choose to go EV. And they are good for up to 4 years if you purchase a new EV. And last but not least, for the benefits of driving electric, is the driving experience itself. Once you get behind the wheel of an electric vehicle, you will notice that it is a quiet ride. It is a smooth ride. Because it's the engine is electric, it's instant torque. And so you have pretty much instant acceleration. And some people liken it to being in a spaceship because it's that cool and quiet and smooth of a ride. And you really do have to get behind the wheel of an electric vehicle in order to experience the fact that it really truly is a better ride. So those are all the benefits of making the switch to an electric vehicle. Now, some people are hesitant because they might have what's called range anxiety, or the way to fuel the car is different. And so, they don't want to deal with a new charging paradigm. But hopefully we can alleviate any of those concerns right now as we talk about range and about how to charge your car. We actually believe that it's a lot easier to fuel your electric vehicle than it is to fuel a gas-powered car. The moment that you bring your electric vehicle home from the dealer, if you have an outlet in or near your garage, you can bring your car home, plug it into the outlet, and start charging from the convenience of your own home. Most EV owners charge their electric vehicles at home about 80% of the time. So no need to go to a gas station. You will charge your electric vehicle similar to the way you charge your cell phone, and you will do it overnight. While you're asleep, you'll wake up and you'll have charge to get you about your daily business. So there's a few different speeds of charging. The first is called level 1, and that is the one that you can do right away as soon as you bring your car home, as long as you have access to a grounded outlet. Because the manufacturer gives you a charging cord to go along with your car, and plug that into the outlet and it starts to charge. This is a slow charge. It's sometimes called a trickle charge, but it will get you about 40 miles of range overnight. And the average Bay Area resident's commute is approximately 20 miles per day. So level 1 charging can really suffice for a majority of people's needs. However, if you do want to charge your vehicle more quickly, you can invest in what's called a level 2 charger. And I'm pointing to it right now. This one is installed on the outside of a garage. And that is a faster charger. It does require you to install a 240 volt outlet and wiring. And once you do that, that will give you about 25 miles of range per hour of charging. You also have access to level 2 charging out in the public. And on the right-hand side, we're showing a photo of a public charging station, and that's level 2, and it will give you the same range. And this one you pay for by subscribing to the service. You can also use it as a guest. So that's the somewhat faster speed of charging, but there's a third speed, which is the fastest of all, and it's called level 3 charging, sometimes called DC fast charging. And there's two different systems for DC fast charging. If you own a Tesla, you will use what's called a Tesla supercharger. And if you have any other type of vehicle, you will use a different network. The one on the right is called EVgo. There's also Electrify America, there's ChargePoint, and there's a number of other network providers that you can use. These fast chargers will give you between 130 and over 200 miles of range per hour. And some of the newer electric vehicles that are coming on the market very soon have the ability to charge to get up to 600 miles of range in an hour's worth of charging. And the charging infrastructure itself is also developing to enable ever faster rates of charge. All right, but what if you live in an apartment and you don't have access to an outlet at your home? This is trickier, admittedly. There are some options. There are coming to market some things that are called smart outlets. And basically, they allow your landlord to install this outlet at a 110 outlet so that you can plug into this smart outlet, and the smart outlet will charge you only for the use of the electricity that you use while you're charging your car. So it allows the landlord to enable you to use their electricity and pay for the amount that you use. So those are coming to market. Another thing that's very important to know is that if you have the ability to install a charging station in your apartment complex, California law states that if you provide a written request to your landlord, they must approve that request as long as you are willing to pay for the charger and the installation. And lastly, I have this photo on the right of a new service, and it's called ChargeUp. And it's a concierge service which brings portable EV chargers to you, to your vehicle. So it's kind of a concierge service. It's new. They're only available in certain cities. They are available in the San Francisco Bay Area. I don't know anyone who has signed up for this new service, but if you happen to sign up and you give it a try, please get back to us, because we would love to know if this is indeed a viable option for people who dwell in apartments and condominiums. All right, so I mentioned these are some of the charging networks that are available in the Bay Area and throughout the United States. We highly recommend that you register for the major service providers in your area before you get your electric vehicle. That way you're all set. You can use your cell phone in order to make the connection. You pull your EV up to the charging station and you'll be all set to go. So we recommend that you get yourself set up before you get your EV. So there's probably questions amongst this audience about the infrastructure and how available it is and how reliable it is. You know, infrastructure is increasing all the time. One of the service providers that I just mentioned, Electrify America, has a goal of installing 800 units and 3,500 ports by the end of this year. This is an image from a software provider called PlugShare. And if you own an EV, you will probably use this service quite a bit. And it pulls up all the available EV chargers wherever it is that you want to go. And like I said, more and more EV charging stations are being built every week. All right, time for a very brief public service announcement since we're talking about EV charging. We want to talk about the best time to charge. There's a campaign now that is called Power Down from 4 to 9 p.m. And that is because when you use your electricity is just as important as how much electricity you use. So it's less expensive to charge your vehicle between the hours of 4 p.m. and I think that's a typo. It should be 4 p.m. and 9 a.m. So overnight, basically. Or no, maybe it isn't a typo. Maybe I'm just getting it wrong. Linda's shaking her head. It's not a typo. Power down from 4 to 9 p.m. Because that is when solar power, the sun starts to go down. And so there is less access to energy from the sun, and it's before wind power kicks in overnight. And so really we want to encourage individuals to charge outside of those hours. And that's when it's most expensive as well. Okay, let's talk about all the rebates that are available for going EV. The price of electric vehicles are more expensive than their equivalent gas-powered models. However, there are a lot of rebates out there that substantially bring down the cost of an electric vehicle. The big one is the federal tax credit. You make the purchase of your vehicle up front, and then when it comes time to pay your taxes the following year, you can claim up to $7,500 off of your taxes because you have purchased your electric vehicle. The caveat is that Tesla models and all General Motors models do not qualify anymore for the federal tax credit because they have already reached their limit in terms of the number of vehicles they could sell that are eligible for the tax credit. But all other makes and models are still eligible for this federal tax credit. The California rebate. California has a rebate of $1,000 off of a plug-in hybrid and $2,000 off of a 100% electric vehicle. It's a very popular program, and so occasionally it does run out of funding and they have to close the portal to new applications. The portal was closed for quite a while, but it has recently reopened. Now, it's opened again, and we don't know for how long, because we know that there are going to be changes to the California rebate within the next few months. And so it's pretty safe to say that there are going to be some eligibility restrictions imposed on the rebate in the new year. And if you have any questions about the California rebate or the federal tax credit or the other rebates that I'm going to discuss right now, please go to the rebate room, because we have experts that manage these programs that can answer your detailed questions. All right, if you are income qualifying, you actually get an additional $2,500 from the California rebate for a total of $4,500. And so you can look at this chart here and see if you might be able to be underneath those income thresholds in order to get that additional rebate. And they have a new rebate that has come online recently. All California residents are able to get this rebate, and it's a point of sale rebate, which means the price gets taken off the purchase price. You have to tell the dealer that you want the California Clean Fuel Reward, and you get between $800 and $1,500 off the price of the car right from the get-go. The full $1,500 if it's a 100% EV, and a lower amount down to $800 if it's a plug-in hybrid. Okay, so let's talk about Peninsula Clean Energy's rebate. It is one of the few rebates on used electric vehicles, which is a very, very viable option. Peninsula Clean Energy is giving between $700 and $1,000 off the price of a used electric vehicle. And if you're income qualifying, if your income falls underneath those income thresholds from the previous slide, you will qualify for a substantial amount more, between $3,700 and $4,000 towards the purchase of a used EV. And again, Carlos Moreno from Peninsula Clean Energy can answer all of your questions about this rebate in the rebates breakout room. All right, so I wanted to show this chart because it shows that once you put all of the rebates into the mix and the maintenance savings and the fuel savings, you will see that a typical electric vehicle is cheaper to own over its lifetime than an equivalent gas-powered car. And in this example, it shows that the Chevy Bolt is about $3,500 cheaper to own over 5 years compared to a similar gas vehicle. Okay, so there's a lot happening right now in the EV marketplace, and it's not all good news. You're probably all aware of the chip shortage and other supply chain issues. And that's kind of wrecking havoc on a lot of industries, including the automobile industry. Here's a couple of headlines that I want to show you. A silicon chip shortage is causing big issues for automakers. Microchip shortage update. Car inventories could stay low all next year. And I did a recent search for a very popular model, the Nissan Leaf, and there's very low inventory here in the Bay Area. This is the result that I got from Hayward Nissan. Sorry, we don't have any vehicles right now. And that's true throughout the Bay Area. There's just not a lot of cars for sale right now. And they do expect that the market is going to stay tight well into next year. Added to this challenge is another issue with the beloved Chevy Bolt. Some of you may know that the Bolt has recalled all of its vehicles over a potential battery fire risk. There have been a handful of Bolts that have caught on fire. So they have recalled them and they're not available for sale right now. They have a fix. It is coming. They are actually going to replace every single battery module in every single Bolt that they've created. And so we're all taking our turns to get our Bolts, get that fix on the Bolts and awaiting the time when they can be sold again because they really are fantastic cars. So that's kind of a little bit of bad news about the industry right now. A lot of it caused by the pandemic and couldn't be avoided. However, when the market does loosen up a bit, I do want to talk a little bit about the option for leasing. In the past, and I'm sure again in the future, there's going to be occasions when you will be able to find excellent lease deals on electric vehicles. In the past, for example, Nissan Leaf has had some amazing lease deals. And this is a website where you can look up weekly lease deals throughout the country. And you'll see here that there's some places that were offering a Nissan Leaf for lease for only $29. These great deals hopefully will come back. They happen sporadically. And when they do, I highly recommend that you jump on them. I was able to lease my Chevy Bolt for $125 a month. Okay, so let's quickly talk about some popular models. The Tesla Y is the best-selling EV in the country. I've mentioned the Chevy Bolt, and I've also mentioned the Nissan Leaf. A really cool fact about the Leaf is that the dealer will give you a $250 credit for fast charging and a $350 credit for Turo car rentals. That's a car sharing platform. In case you decide, I don't want to take my Leaf on a really long road trip across the country, you're able to actually rent a vehicle on Nissan in order to do just that. Plug-in hybrids. The Kia Sorento plug-in hybrid is coming soon. It has standard 3-row seating and standard all-wheel drive, and it has an electric range of 32 miles, which is pretty decent. There's only one vehicle that's being produced that's a minivan. It's the Chrysler Pacifica plug-in hybrid. And the Toyota RAV4 plug-in hybrid is hugely popular. They're also hard to get a hold of because they are a really popular model in the first place. And the plug-in hybrid version has a 42-mile range, which is pretty impressive. And then if you want to go to the breakout session, you'll learn much more about the Ford Mustang Mach-E. Again, it has burst onto the scene, highly popular, and the VW ID.4, which gives you 3 years of unlimited DC fast charging at Electrify America chargers, which is just an incredible perk. And finally, there's up and coming models such as the Hyundai Ioniq 5, which gets an almost 300-mile range, and it has ultra fast charging. I'm personally very excited about this vehicle. It looks very cool. It kind of looks modern and retro at the same time. And most of you have probably heard about the Ford F-150 Lightning pickup truck, which has vehicle to building charging. So it can power your house in the case of a power outage, which is just, it's the next level. Okay. Now, for your next steps after this program, we encourage you to take a test drive. Peninsula Clean Energy, if you are a San Mateo County resident, will give you $200 to rent a car via Churro to take an extended test drive. And Carlos can talk more about that in the breakout room. And if you happen to be around next weekend, October 9th and 10th, Charge Across Town is having a test drive event in San Francisco. You can also test drive any electric vehicle at a dealer, and you probably have some EV enthusiast friends that would be willing to give you a test drive as well. All right, just really quickly before we wrap up, I wanted to close by saying the future is very positive for electric vehicles. Automobile makers are finally on board. I'm not going to read everything they're doing here, but the last quote really says it all. GM ends to end sales of US gas-powered light-duty vehicles by 2035. It's pretty impressive. And the sales and market share of EVs is exploding as well, as you can see from this chart. Pretty much every country is on the bandwagon for EVs, and the US is right in there. Okay, so now what I'd like to do is take just a few minutes to answer some questions. And I won't be able to get to a lot of them because I see that we're running a little bit over time. So I'll answer just a few right now. And if your question isn't answered, feel free to ask our ambassadors in the breakout rooms. All right, when will the Ford F-150 be available for purchase? I have heard that if you got in really early, you'll get one in 2022. If you make your reservation now, it probably won't be until 2023. Let's see. Yes, a recording of this session will be available afterwards. Will the rebates apply to international student residents in California? If you're a California, that's a tricky one. I might have Danielle Platt answer that in the breakout room. I'm going to say yes, but she can correct me if I'm wrong. Let's see, what else? We have a question about Teslas. I'm going to let that be answered in the breakout room. What happens if there's a rolling blackout? How do we charge the car? Well, listen, if there's a blackout, you're not going to be able to fuel your car at a gas station either. But the car has a huge source of energy in it. And so if you have range in your car when there's a blackout, you actually can purchase something called an inverter, which will allow you to pull electricity out of your car's battery and power some of your appliances. And pretty soon, the vehicles are going to be able to actually push the power back into your whole house. And so it's going to be a major plus during power outages. Let's see, rebates are mostly for new cars. The question was, are rebates for new cars only? All the rebates except for the Peninsula Clean Energy rebate that I mentioned are for new car purchases. And so now we are wrapping up the formal portion of the program. And to do that, I wanted to mention two upcoming events. If you enjoyed your time at this event and you would like to learn more about financial incentives for income qualifying residents, please sign up to attend our financial incentives clinic on Sunday, October 24th. And as part of our public lecture series, we have a really great panel of EV experts that are going to be talking about mass mobility, fleets, and innovation. And you know, electrifying America's fleets is just, we can't, the EV movement will not succeed unless we electrify our fleets. And so this is a very important topic, and we have some really expert individuals that will be presenting this information on October 13th. So please join us at that event as well. And with that, I would like to again thank our partners and supporters, Peninsula Clean Energy, Citizens Environmental Council, Greentown Los Altos, and National Drive Electric Week for enabling us to put on this event.